Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Studio 88. Today, as a special segment, is part 2 of Will Romero. What we had done is when the cameras went off, we didn't tell him the mics were still rolling. He completely let his guard down. He was very raw, vivid, and honest. There was no pressure, and it was actually a really great episode. We're dropping part 2 on Thursday, but only on my YouTube channel. But when you head to that channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. We will post the link below, so please follow that and subscribe to my channel, and tune in Thursday to see what kind of juicy stuff Will said. You're all good? Okay, my man. Today, my special guest, Will Romero. I met Will Romero back in 2009. The first time I ever met you, you were wearing a suit. And we were at the reserves in Walpole Island. And right away, the first time I ever met you, I was blown away by the aura that you had. You were knocking guys out left, right, and center. You were the talk of the town. Everybody was like, Will Romero, Will Romero. Do you know who Will Romero is? And then the first time I saw you, you were in a suit. Your shoes were super polished. And I was like, this is a guy almost like an NHL player. You know how like the NHL players show up to their games and they're all in their in suits. Yeah. Where did that come from? Was that a military thing?
Yeah, I would say, I've always been a fan of fashion and stuff, and I feel, it shows that you're professional. Exactly like you said in the NHL, that's something I always liked hockey, being a Canadian kid, that you see, I follow the Leafs, and in between periods, you see the guys who are showing up to the games, they'd be in suits, right? Mm-hmm. So I always thought, I've always taken my career very seriously. I always wanted to be the best, and I said, along with that, I want to show that I'm professional, so I always try to carry myself well in the ring and out the ring as well.
Mm-hmm. And it showed, and every encounter that I ever had with you, you were always very professional. You were always a gentleman, and that's one of the reasons I asked you here today, because I was, I dig you, man. You're like,
awesome, man.
You're a great fighter. There's so much, but I don't know anything about you.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm really honored, and it's a real pleasure for me to be here.
So let's dive into your martial art career. Okay, so I met you back in 2009, and you were already on a tear. You trained with Krulin, who just happens to be giving some special water to all his guys because all you guys are killers. Mm-hmm. How did it all begin for you?
Well, yeah. So this starts to ever since I was a child. One of my earliest memories were watching Bruce Lee. Where like a lot of guys started. I saw martial arts movies and Van Damme. And I was just blown away. I was mesmerized. I was attached to the television, and it just did something to me different. And honestly, I can remember being like, I don't know, 6 years old and like watching these movies and then going to bed and like meditating on my bed. I didn't even know what meditation was, but I was doing what I was watching on TV.
Doing the splits from one bed to the other.
Just kumbaya. But I'm like channeling my energy, and so I had a passion with it right from the start with these guys. I thought they portrayed the arts really well, and the energy was just incredible. And that's how I got into it. I was stuck into it for a while, just loving it, and always wanted to do like martial arts. I'm like, I would see these like, Karate Kid movies and the guys in the suits, and I'm like, man, like this is amazing. Like I want to join one of these schools, And I remember, I've always grew up in Brampton, and driving down Kennedy Road in Brampton, there was this John Park's Taekwondo, and it was like,
get out of town. You want to hear something funny?
Yeah,
I got a black stripe in John Park's
Taekwondo.
Out. Yes, Master Mayung. Master Mayung. Do you know him, Mr. Mayung?
Oh my God, that's him. I think that's him. Yeah,
he had a dojo, Markham and Eglinton.
Okay.
And that was in Scarborough. I grew up in Scarborough originally, so I'm a Scarborough boy. But Jung Park Taekwondo was where I first started out. And it was because of the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. That's too funny. Keep going.
Awesome, man. Yeah, awesome. So sometimes, I'd drive by this place with my parents, and I would see like the big sign and the open window and, the Karate Kids, doing their thing. And I'm just like, man, like I gotta get into this. But my mother, I was a single mom. She could, it was 3 boys. She couldn't afford that, So I met my father when I was 8 years old, and I hadn't known him up to that point. So after all those years that he wasn't there, I'm like, Dad, please, like, put me into this. And he was like, you got it, you know? And that's how my martial arts journey actually started.
How old were you?
I was 8 years old. Yeah, I
No
was 8
shit.
years old, and I started in Taekwondo.
Yeah, I see. I people shit on Taekwondo all the time, and I defend it because the thing with Taekwondo is it's that 60-40 kicks versus punching.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, in a sense, it's not very good in the MMA world because there's takedowns, there's so many other attributes to it.
Mm-hmm.
But with Taekwondo, what it did was gives you flexibility was a huge thing that they always worked on. Leg dexterity, doing the spinning flashy kicks, things like that. All
awesome.
super help you when you transition to Muay Thai or to kickboxing or something like that. But Taekwondo has always been it seems like Chris Clements, for example. A lot of these guys like that are yourself, guys that are superstars in the cage or the ring, usually come from Taekwondo.
Yeah, and I only spent a couple years doing it, but I gotta agree with you. For one, there's so many benefits to it. Every martial art has its strengths. If you're a martial artist in any of these arts, even be it Tai Chi, and someone doesn't know an art, you're gonna be massively effective against them. And every martial art has their I think there are pros and their cons, and Taekwondo is a massively effective martial art, and I think I think highly of it.
Yeah,
sure.
me too. So go on. You were saying so Jong Park. You put you in the Jong Park.
Yeah,
Taekwondo.
so Jong Park Taekwondo. So I started there. I did that for a couple years, and then I felt like I wanted to do something a little bit more hands on. I felt like it wasn't really like fighting. It wasn't real street, I guess, effective. And then I met this guy who, my mother's a seamstress. She's been a seamstress her whole life. She was selling the sewing machine on like one of these ads. And this man, this little Chinese man, bought the machine. And when he came to the house to buy the machine, she's talking to him and she's like, what do you do for a living? And he's like, oh, well, I'm a Kung Fu teacher. And I was just like, whoa, you teach Kung Fu? And long story short, he would pick me up and he would drive me to Mississauga to his school. I would do 5 hours of training a day of Kung Fu. And then... So yeah, I did that for a couple years as well, and then after that, just went to the Canadian Forces, and then
how old were you then?
So I was there. I was 17 when I joined the forces.
Reg Force.
Reg Force.
Wow.
So I needed my parents' signature to allow me to go as well. So I wanted the real deal. I've always been that person that's like, what, I want to do the real thing. I heard about the reserves because I went to the reserve building to sign up, and I said, hey, listen, I want to go. I was also like a kid that was always getting in trouble and stuff. And, my mother was very, old school, So I'm like, man, I got to get out of my house,
What's your nationality, bro?
I'm from Ecuador.
Ecuador.
I'm born in Canada, but my parents are from Ecuador, both of them. And lived there for a few years as well. So it was my first language.
Yeah.
So where was I?
You were saying the Kung Fu.
Yeah. So Kung Fu.
Sorry. The military. You joined in the military.
So I joined the military. I came back from the military. Yes, you asked me. So I was there for 3 years, and then came back, and then that's when I met Alin. I started working at a gym as a personal trainer, and Alin was training at another gym in another city. I believe in Hamilton here. Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't Iron Tiger yet. This was prior.
No, yeah.
Iron Tiger. So this was when
prior Iron Tiger. So I had just come back from the army, got a job as a trainer, started working at a gym, Family Fitness, in Mississauga, and they had one in Hamilton. Alin was working that one in Hamilton, and they were having like a trainers meeting where they were going to do like specialty classes, and they wanted to start running group training, right? And so they had Alin, who was the martial arts guy, and they brought me in because I said I'm the martial arts guy, And so long story short, they're like, okay, you know what, Will, we're going to put you with Alin. You guys get on the same page. You guys are going to run a martial arts program, So I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, who's this guy, Alin, And they're like, yeah, he's a Muay Thai champion from Romania. He's got a Muay Thai champion here. I'm just like, whoa, what? Muay Thai? I'm like, I've heard about this Muay Thai stuff. Like, oh my God, and you have a champion here. And so we started talking, and then long story short, they're like, okay, you know what? We're going to pay for 10 sessions for him to train you. You guys are going to be on the same page, and then you're going to run a program. So in my head, I'm just like, man, this guy trains fighters. Like, wow, like, this is the guy, like, I want to fight, So I would go train with him, and I remember, like, the first session, I'm just like, you know what, I got to impress this guy. And before then, I was always fighting on the streets and the yard and school and stuff, I was never any, like, I did Taekwondo, but nothing, like, nothing organized, So when I went to his school, I'm like, I got to prove to this guy, So I went in there, I'm like, I don't care who's here, I'm going to throw down and I'm going to kick some ass, So first class, I'm there and to the Zion Tiger Muay Thai and training, and then it's time to spar, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, time to spar. I don't care who it is. I'm messing them up, Puts me with the first guy, and I just went in there and balls to the wall, and messed this guy up, took this guy out literally, and next guy comes in, I mess him up, and then he's like, okay, he looks at this other guy, this black guy is jacked up, Muay Moromo, right? I don't know Muay Moromo at this point, right? So I'm like, I don't care who this guy is. I'm messing him up. I'm going to knock him out, right? That's in my head, right? I'm crushing everybody here. I don't care because I'm proving to this guy that I'm going to be the best, So I go and I'm swinging at Muay, and he's literally like just brushing things off, like whatever. And I saw him kind of like look over my coach, like, this guy's trying to hurt me, And Lynn give him like give it to him, Yeah, so he looks at me, he's like, wham, he gave me this one low kick. It was like, I had never felt nothing like that in my life, right? And I tried to poker face it, put my leg down, and my leg just like seized up. I fell to the floor, and I was like, like in pain. And I got up, and I'm like, okay, let's go. And they're like, no, man, you're good, So they carried me to my car, because you got to walk down the stairs. My leg wasn't moving, And the next day, I was right back in there, from Brampton. I drove all the way back, and Lynn's like, okay, man, you know what? You like this, you're serious, and that's how that started, man, with Lynn.
No shit.
Yeah.
Muay Moromo.
Yeah. He was nice because he could have gave me one to the head, but instead he chopped me real hard. And
yeah. What do you think it was about Lynn's gym that just drew all these studs? Like, there's so many of you guys. It's not like it's just like 2 or 3. There's like the gym name changed to House of Champions for a reason. What do you think it was that brought all these guys? Right? Totally.
So the thing and I've thought about this myself too, and I've been around, I've trained with guys around the world, some great coaches and great fighters. And I think it's his mindset, and the fact that he was a fighter as well, that's a massive thing. You can't learn to do surgery from someone who's not a doctor. You get what I'm saying? It's the same thing. If you want to learn how to fight, it's likely best that you learn from someone who knows how to fight and who's actually experienced these things, So along with him having the experiences, his mentality, he's go forward and kill mentality, and he's a rugged, a Romanian style, Eastern European style of fighter. And these guys are known to be rugged, tough, hard-nosed fighters, and I think that he instills that in his students when he teaches. And like even being there, for example, like I said, he let me have that kick. He told Muay, give it to him. And that was massive because it was going to show him, you're going to take it and come back, or you're going to take it and never come back, right? So Alin knows that. In another school, as someone who may not have that experience or may not have that, that background, may just be like, don't hurt this guy. He's a new kid, first time in the gym, make sure you don't hurt him, which I understand. But I think maybe he saw something in me. So he said, you know what, give it to him.
Where'd the nickname come from?
So the nickname, it's actually my mother's maiden name. Leon in Spanish means lion.
Okay.
Right. So I figured, you know what? I think that fits nice. I think my style is sort of like that Alin style. I come in, I go for the kill, right? And I'm like, you know what, lion, man. And my mother, she raised us, as a single mother. She was pretty tough, with us growing up. So I'm like, man, that's perfect.
So you say us? You got brothers, sisters?
I got 2 brothers,
older?
2 older brothers. Yeah.
Okay, so they beat the shit out of you all the time then.
Yeah. When we were a lot younger, but then as we got older,
things change.
No, but my middle brother Richard, he was also like a really like a scrappy kid, always getting into trouble in school. Not that was me, but that was him. He was tough. He was kind of had like an anger thing with him. So we were always like competitive. Not me and my brother, but just like in general. And so if I tried to like get competitive with him, he would set me straight all the time, And I always used to look at my brothers like, man, if I can one day kick my brother's ass, then I can kick anybody's ass,
Yeah. It's funny how the tables turn. Eh?
Yeah.
So how does your mom feel about you being a competitive fighter?
Early on in my career, she loved it because early in my career, I was whooping a lot of butt, And anybody that's had some sort of success in their career, that's kind of how it goes. Early on, you're whooping butt, you make it through the ranks, and you're like, okay, he's a good guy. Now you're up to the next level. But every time you start going up a level, your ass kicking doesn't, it's not so much ass kicking anymore. Maybe it's a little bit of both. You're getting your ass kicked in fights, you're kicking some ass. I had a lot of wars, and my mother used to come out to a lot of my fights. She's seen a lot of wars, she's seen me knock people out and break their faces and stuff. And she's actually, she's watched my fights, the ones that she hasn't been to. So she's seen me take a lot of punishment as well.
Speaking of punishment,
Yeah.
Jesus, your jaw.
Yeah.
So I said you posted. It was a couple weeks ago, I think
Yeah.
it was, and it was like one of those in memory pictures or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And your face was like you look
Yeah.
like Quagmire from
Yeah,
Family
yeah,
Guy.
yeah, I've
Like
heard a
this
lot
just
of
the
it.
gigantic chin.
Yeah.
That was that in China.
That was in China.
What happened? Tell me about
so
that.
basically, my teammate Dennis from
Yeah.
the same family,
Savage, too.
Yeah, Dennis,
Watch It
little
Freaks. Shout out
beast,
to Dennis
Watch It
Pierre.
Freaks, yeah. He's a character, man. I love that guy. He's literally like family to me, And he was out there. We actually went and fought in China both one time, and he had a stellar performance, hell of a show. Beat a guy there, and this guy, they saw that, they're like, hey, man, they offered him a job in China, And so he was there, and prior to that, him being my teammate, we were working a lot together. I would work with him a lot on his boxing and stuff, And when he was in China, he's like, I need you here, bro. He's like, I need you here, man. Like, I want you to, help me train and get me prepared for my fights. You got to come, bro. You got to come. Just come take a month here, or even just enjoy yourself. Come check it out. So I'm like, you know what? Hell yeah, I'm going to go to China and just have a good time, Help my brother out, to get prepared for his fights. So I go to China, I'm training, I'm helping him prepare, and they saw me too. They're like, hey, you want to fight here? You want a job here? You want to be a teacher as well? So I'm like, hell yeah, okay, cool, let's do this. And they're like, listen, 1 year, man, stay here for a year. We're going to pay you. You can train here. You don't have to do nothing. We're going to give you a condo. We're going to give you everything. We're going to take care of you. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So that's how I got there. That's how I got to China. And then I'm fighting there a few fights. I was winning. And then I had this fight for Kulun Fight, who's one of the biggest organizations in China. I had this fight, and fighting this guy who's a bit of a wrestler, a Mongolian kid, tough kid. Over there in China, there's so many fights that they have that don't go on their record. So on his record,
Lo and behold,
on his record, he had 10 fights in, he was, 5-5 or something, right? But really, this guy has been fighting, they fight once a month, every couple months, tons of fights, right? Yeah, so long story short, I'm there fighting. This guy cracks me. I throw a low kick. I made a mistake. I looked at his leg when I threw the kick as opposed to looking at his face or his chest, He saw where I was going. Experienced fighter. He cracked me with a hook at the same time. He knows I'm a Thai boxer. Maybe he practiced that. Timed me on the kick. Cracked me. And I fell. I dropped. Now, the crazy thing, Jimmy, is that when he hit me, I almost knocked out. It was a flash drop, right? So I dropped. And when I dropped, the drop woke me up, like we see all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The drop woke me up. And when I woke up, I'm like, I see this guy rushing at me. He saw me, I'm down. He's coming to finish the job. So I'm just like, oh shit, now it's fight or flight. Am I gonna cower or am I gonna fight for my life? So I see him and I'm like, fuck, boom. I just throw a punch. Crazy, it hits him in the throat, right? So he now backs up and I'm like, oh, okay, so now I got my bearings. So now I'm like, I got my bearings, okay. And I feel like my mouthpiece is sideways in my mouth, right? I'm like, the hell, that's awkward. I'm like, what the fuck? So I go with my teeth and I'm like feeling what the hell's in there, and I feel my teeth vertically in my mouth, and I'm like, what the fuck? He broke my jaw. My mouth was sideways into my my jaw. This side of my jaw was sideways in my mouth. I could feel my teeth vertically across my mouth. So now I'm just like, what the? So I'm like, oh shit! If they see my jaw's broken, they're gonna stop the fight. They're gonna stop the fight. So I'm just like, shut your mouth. So I shut my mouth and I'm like, okay. Don't open your mouth and just fight back. But thank God, it was that punch in the throat that set him back, because he was now on the outside. So I'm like, okay, well, shit, let's go. Let's go. This was in the second round, right? Halfway through the second round. So now I'm pressuring him, keep fighting. He's cracking me. I got a broken jaw. So the crazy thing is I didn't feel no pain, because when he broke my jaw, he broke it clean. Like it broke, snapped here and here, and it broke off completely, right? So there's a nerve that runs through there, and he severed that nerve. The nerve got cut completely, so it was numb. My face was numb, so I didn't feel anything. I just felt my teeth with my tongue, right? Yeah. So
Hey,
I'm like,
sorry, do you
okay,
mind just,
all right.
can you just come in a little closer to the mic again? Yeah. There we go.
So
That's better.
So yeah, so I kept fighting, and then the round ends. I go to the bench, and I'm kind of like in shock, I guess, right? I'm just there with my mouth shut, and I guess my corner is like talking to me, and I just kept my mouth shut. I didn't say anything, didn't do anything, and I just thought in my head, you got to finish this guy. Like, you got to finish this guy. Like, you got to finish this guy. They're going to stop the fight. They're going to stop the fight. They're going to stop the fight, right? So anyways, third round comes out. We're fighting. We're scrapping. Long story short, they didn't know I won the fight, you know? And after that, I was in the hospital. I had to go get reconstructive surgery. I was in Mongolia. I was in the desert in Mongolia. And it was like some Chinese festival. So for a week, there's like nothing is open. So they put me in the ambulance right after the fight. Like, you got to go to the hospital. Your jaw's broken, right? So I go to the hospital. They're like, okay, we're going to go to the Mongolian hospital, right? The Mongolian hospital. There's no hospital open in Mongolia at like this festival. So now it's like hours have passed by. They're like, okay, we're going to go to Beijing Beijing. So we fly to Beijing, right? So we fly to Beijing. Now it's like 2 days later after my jaw's been broken. In my head, I'm like, oh, my jaw's going to get fused together. I'm going to be all deformed forever. I'm freaking out. I'm like, my career is over. Maybe I didn't know what can happen. You know, I'm like losing my mind, you know. But at the same time, I'm like the happiest person in the world because I'm like, man, I just
Won the fight.
I just won this fight. That's
Yeah.
all that matters. Like, nothing else matters. I don't care, you know. So anyway, so we get to this hospital in China. They do reconstructive surgery on my face, and I was there for a week, sucking, you know, food through a straw, you know, and I had wired down. You know, they put screws, they drilled screws in my jaw. It's pretty ruthless. But they did an amazing job. I guess you can't tell,
I can't,
right?
I
You
can't tell at all.
right?
Even when you talk, even like everything.
Yeah, they call it the occlusion. I think it's called the lining up of the jaw. It's very particular, right? So like they literally clamp you down so that it lines up, and yeah. So that was China, man. Yeah,
That's insane.
Yeah,
And you fought after that too, didn't you?
So that set me back for a year.
Mhm.
So I was actually, like I said, I was teaching in China and while I was fighting. And over there, you're like, even these countries like Thailand and China, if you're like a racehorse. If you're the racehorse and you got a broken leg, you know, you're done. You know, so I mean, the fact that I won that fight like that, you know, all my students in China and the coaches and everybody, they were just like, oh, dude, like you're our hero, you know, and it was amazing. But then they're like, hey, go home, you know,
Just
you're
like
no good
that.
to us, you know. So
Wow.
so they sent me home. That really hurt. That did hurt because in my head at that time, I was in love with China. You know, I was in love with China. I was in love with the people, the students, and I was starting to plan on, like, me and my boy Dennis were like, man, let's move on down here. Let's
Just stay.
let's meet some girl. Let's get married, maybe. You know, you know. So when they just gave me the boot like a wounded horse, it really hit me. You know, I kind of took it personal. But I used that stuff as fuel, incredibly, you know. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna show them, you know. And I kept training hard, kept training, even though I couldn't spar or take any shots to my face for a year, for a year. I kept training, and you know, I told my coach, like, hey, crew, you know, let's start looking at fights, man. You know, let's start doing this. I'm ready.
Come
you
a
know?
little bit closer.
Let's start looking, you know. And I was thinking, like, maybe we shouldn't do MMA. Maybe we should just start with some Thai boxing or kickboxing again because of the bigger gloves, just to be safer for my face. And plus, I'm a better striker. You know, just maybe it's best. You know, let's look at Glory. Let's look at these shows over here, right? Maybe Lion Fight or whatever. You know, it's something that's around here. You know, whatever these other shows around. You know, and my coach, you know, he loves the students, you know, and I could see Alin was like, okay, you know, maybe Glory, maybe not right now, you know, and you know, maybe we should, you know, like a step at a time type of thing, you know. But in my head, I'm like, fuck no, man. Like I'm fucking ready, man. I was
He's
ready.
so protective.
Yeah, I was ready to die, man, and I'm ready. I believe in myself. I know I can go and compete with these guys, you know. And so I was like, you know what, man, like I'm gonna, you know, just take care of myself. It was nothing like like, hey, you know, against the limb or nothing. I just felt like, you know, he wanted to really protect me, and I just, in my head, I'm like, you know what, man, I just put my face on the line, my life on the line. I've been putting my life on the line. I believe in myself. I'm gonna keep going, man. I want to fight the best. You know, I'm ready. I'm healed. I'm ready. Let's go. So I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna go to Thailand. You know, I'm gonna go to Thailand, and I'm gonna walk to a gym with my bags, and I'm gonna let them see who I am, and then they're either gonna tell me let's do it, or they're gonna tell me no, you don't got it, you know. And then that was it, you know. So I said, I bought a ticket to Thailand, and I'm like, I'm going to Thailand, you know. And there was this gym, you know, sits on Penang in Phuket, big gym, you know, a lot of fighters, and they were just strictly Muay Thai, no jiu-jitsu, no nothing. And I'm like, you know what, that's where I'm going, you know. And it was crazy. I packed my bags. I showed up there. I actually sent them an email before, you know. I'm like, hey, to the manager there, Tim. And I'm like, hey, Tim Fisher. I'm like, my name is Will Romero. You know, I fought in Bellator. Have this championship. I have that championship. I blah, 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 blah. I'm coming to your, you know, do you sponsor fighters? I would love to, you know, be a sponsored fighter and live at your gym. I wanted to do the whole thing, the real deal, live at a gym. My plan was, you know, I'm going to go to Thailand 3 years, and that's it. I'm going to win a world title. I'm going to fight the best within 3 years, and then I'm going to retire, come back home. I bought a condo before going. My condo's going to be ready. I'll open my own gym, and then bam, you know? So I get there. I send him the email, and he emails me back, and he's like, hey, listen, man. He goes, here in Thailand, we don't care what your resume looks like. You know, we don't care what you've done. Come to the gym, come train, and we'll go from there. So I was like, all right, you know what? I respect that, you know? Cool. So I get to Thailand, I get to Phuket, I get on a tuk-tuk, you know, I put my luggage in there, and I'm driving, and he drops me off at Sitsang Pinang, Phuket, you know. And as I pull in on my little taxi, I see that guy, Tim Fisher, you know, the manager there, and I'm like, hey, Tim, it's Will. He goes, Will who? I'm like, you know, I messaged you, I fought for Bellator. Oh, he's like, cool, man. He goes, listen, make yourself comfortable. I'll get you a key, right? I'm like, oh, cool, like, sweet, just like that, right? It's awesome, man, you know? So started training, and again, just same mentality. I was like, you know what, I know what I have, what my mindset is. I'm gonna come here, I'm gonna work my ass off tomorrow morning. I'm gonna run the 10 kilometers like they do. They told me, okay, hope you're ready to go tomorrow morning, 10K through the hills and blah, blah. I'm like, whatever, let's do this at 6 a.m., you know? So long story short, trained my ass off, and then got to fight some really, really great fighters, and then yeah, that was Thailand, man. Yeah.
How much did the military make you so driven that way?
I think the military was a big part of my life, you know, and part of who I've become. You know, I was an infantry soldier, you know, and the infantry soldiers are the front lines of the army, you know. And ever since I was a kid, you'd always see these movies like Saving Private Ryan and all these things, and you'd see these movies, and I was sort of fascinated by the sacrifice that these men made, you know, like during World War I and World War II or whatever, you know, having to leave their families and going to war and losing their lives at really young ages, you know. And I'm like, man, like this is reality. This is history. This is what people had to do even without, like, against their own choice. You know what I mean? They had to go fight for their countries, you know, for their freedom, you know. And something about that to me just was so powerful. And I'm like, you know what? I got to do my service for my country, man. Like, I got to go do that. I got to go. I don't got to go to war, but I got to go serve for my country, to pay my respects to the men that have fallen before us, you know, not even just to my country, to the men in history in the world. There's something just so powerful about that, you know? And I'm like, they didn't have choice. I have a choice, but I'm going to make the choice and I'm going to go, you know? And so I went, and I got to go to Bosnia. I was 18 years old in the streets of Bosnia, you know, 250 rounds on my body and one in the chamber, ready, locked it and loaded and on safe, you know? And I thought at 18, I was like, wow, this is like the craziest shit ever, man. It is so cool, you know? So I think that toughens you up mentally. Psychologically, you're kind of, they call it, you're in theater, you know? You're in theater, and you kind of know you can die, you know? You can die. People,
What do you mean in theater?
So they just call that in theater when you're actually in like a combat scenario.
Okay.
They call it in theater. So, and then being in theater, you can die, you know? You can die, and people die, and people get their legs blown off by stepping on mines, or you drive over a mine, and and it happens. So I think psychologically it makes you tough. You're with a lot of what we call hard dudes, hard men, and these men have seen things, have experienced things, and yeah, this is infantry, and then I became a paratrooper, and then you're with the heart of the hard, you know what I mean? So definitely, you're training every morning. You're running like 10Ks, 5Ks. You're doing obstacle courses. I was a paratrooper. You're doing all kinds of crazy things. Even just to become a paratrooper, the fitness is a massive. So psychologically, they're training you for war, and this is what you're doing every day. Especially if you're infantry. Especially if you're an airborne or a paratrooper. So to the point where you feel like you want to go to war, man. It's crazy. Like when you're a soldier, I'm 18.
Was it like hypes you up?
It does, and it makes you. It just kind of like makes you numb to the thought of dying. I guess I don't know. That's crazy. I just came up with that, but that's what it is. I mean, you have all your brothers there, and you've built this camaraderie with these guys that you've gone through hell with for like 18 weeks to become a soldier. So it's like, man, I've gone through dirt to become a soldier with these men. You know what I mean? So if you guys are gonna go fight for your country, I'm coming with you. But in a crazy way too, it's like you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. You know what I mean? You just don't really know. I mean, it seems all so cool and gung ho and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go like shoot people or whatever. I don't know. It's crazy, man. You know what I mean? But when you're an infantry soldier, you want to go to war. I wanted to go to Bosnia. I wanted to walk the streets with a rifle in my hands and a bullet in the chamber. But that's what you're trained for. So 100% did the army benefit me in a way or influence me in any way to become a fighter? I think it helped for sure, because just psychologically, I had already gone through that, I guess, life and death scenarios in my mind many times.
It must really help you with the training.
For sure.
And being disciplined.
Absolutely.
Did you fight on that card in Afghanistan?
I didn't.
I'm surprised you didn't.
No.
I thought for sure you would have been on that one.
Yeah.
I can't remember. We talked about it. It was a while by Roy McDonald. There were all these guys went.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's
Yeah,
why they would have been
awesome.
suited. It would have been suited for you.
Yeah.
Where else did you go besides Bosnia?
So that's it with the military. Just Bosnia.
Yeah.
What year was that?
That was in 2001.
2001.
Yeah. So when and the thing is, like, it wasn't like crazy in 2000. We were actually the last rotation, what they call the last rotation. We were the last group of guys to be there in over almost like a 10-year period. So it was already quieting down, but a great experience nonetheless.
What was going on when you were there?
So just peacekeeping. So basically what they were doing is just patrolling the streets. We would patrol. We would because a lot of civilians would have weapons.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And like they would, they were at war with each other and stuff, right? So a lot of times we would go and, like, for example, we'd get a call. A family would be like, hey, we found a mortar in our backyard. Yeah, like, like literally a mortar that's like been there for like years, I don't know, 5-10 years, and it's got mud all over it, but they don't want to touch it because, it may go off, it may explode, so things like that. And then one of the things that we did was we would do like raids, like at 6 a.m. in the morning. We would go like just into people's homes in their village, and we were looking for weapons. We'd go into their cars. We would just search all their things and take their weapons, take their bullets. And from one day raid, we would come back and we would just have just tons of like bullets and guns and explosives and stuff from the civilians. Yeah, and then you do one a month later, and again, Now,
was it like random people, or was it specific targeted? Like,
no,
they say these are the houses you got to check, or just go down the street?
Just houses.
Huh?
Yeah, because you got to think these people have been at war. You know what I mean? So a lot of families, they all have guns and stuff to protect themselves. You know what I mean? But I think the government's there was just trying to like clean it up. So yeah, that was like one of the crazier things that happened. We would also do roadblocks, kind of like drive ride programs.
Yeah.
We'd do roadblocks. What we'd do is we would put like a tank on one side of the road and a tank on the other side of the road, and then we'd have a soldier on one side, so that the car comes on, they can't drive through because of the tank, so they have to stop, right? So we're talking to people, checking, you have any weapons? No. Okay, you can go. So I'm on this side checking this way's traffic. There's another guy checking that way's traffic. And he's like, okay, you walk and you show your hand. Stop, right? Now they should be slowing down. This guy goes, stop. The guy's not slowing down. He's like, stop. The guy is actually speeding up. So he puts his hand on his rifle and he's like, stop. He pulls his gun out. And as he pulls his gun out, right about to shoot, the guy just slams his brakes. And my, I guess my coworker at that time, he's like, dude, like, I was literally right about to shoot this guy like 2 times in his head, you know? So that was bothering. Even though there wasn't a lot of conflict, there was still scenarios where it's like
tense.
Yeah, pretty intense, you know. So, but nonetheless, I mean, I'm so grateful for those experiences. You know, I feel that they definitely had a part of making me who I am.
100%.
Yeah,
That's crazy. With all the civil unrest in the United States right now, just weird question, but do you think civil war could ever happen?
I mean, I think
after seeing something like that in somebody else's country.
Yeah, you know, I think that here in the north or here in this area, there's a lot of control with the police and stuff. You know what I mean? So people can riot, people can get out of hand, you know, and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, our forces, they're so powerful. They'll always keep things in check. You know what I mean? So I don't think so, man. I mean, people.
Well, it's comforting to hear because I see all this shit in the States.
Yeah,
like,
you
wow,
know, and you see it kind of heading in that direction, but I think before it gets too out of hand, you know, the government will do something extreme to just be like, okay, you know what, settle down, you know, So
yeah, it's scary, man.
It is scary, and there's a lot of loss of life, like we were talking earlier. You know, there's a lot of loss of life going on now. It's crazy times, man, you know, and there's a lot of depression, and there's a lot of, you know, like I was telling you, you know, I got laid off of my job, and, you know, thank God that I have clients that I guess believe in me and they see the value in training with me. So they've stuck to training with me. I'd go to their homes and stuff. But when lockdown first happened, you know, I thought, okay, you know, I was working a lot. So I'm like, you know, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to, you know, relax on the sofa, and then you know, after this weekend we're going back to work. You know, after that weekend we weren't going back to work. I stayed on the sofa. Next thing you know, it's 2-3 weeks and I'm still on the sofa, you know, and I'm at this point I'm starting to be like, whoa, I gained like 10 pounds and like I feel tight, I feel lazy, and psychologically it starts to hit you, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, you know what, gotta get going, gotta start moving, gotta start doing something, you know. So thank God, you know, I'm active now, I'm going, even though I'm laid off, I'm still busy. But not everybody's as fortunate, you know what I mean? Companies are shutting down, and businesses are shutting down, and people are, you know, going through, you know, mental distress, and
do you think it's excessive what the government's doing, making gyms shut down? And
well, here's the thing, I understand that we're trying to watch for the people. There's a lot of studies out there, and there's a lot of facts out there that this is not as big as it is, you know, and I'm kind of buying into that, you know what I mean? The other thing too is, like, we are trying to watch for our health. Okay, if you're not healthy, you're more likely to apparently catch this disease, this coronavirus, you know. So what did I just say? If I'm sitting at home relaxing and my health is going down the drain, it was going down the drain, and I'm a fairly active, healthy person. So now, if you're already not active and not healthy, and you're going to be already less active, and you don't have a job, the stress, your cortisol, your hormones are going all out of whack. You're going to eat more. It's just a downward spiral, and this is what people are dealing with now. And not everybody is so strong to be able to grasp themselves and say, nope, I'm going to head the other direction. Thank God I did that. I said, whoa, snap out of it.
Yeah, because you're fortunate enough to be disciplined.
Yeah, you know, and I went the other way, and I started running daily, and I started, you know, just, you know, and like I said, thank God, you know, that I'm able to just be busy, because man, the sofa is a comfort trap. You know, chairs and sofas and these things. You don't want to be comfortable. It's just the reality of life. You start getting too comfortable. Comfortable feels good. You're gonna want to be more comfortable. Anything that we do, we get used to it. If you start running and you run more, you're gonna just get used to running, and now you're gonna want to run. Like I wish I can run every day. I'm getting so busy now that I can't run. But like when I run, I feel like, wow, I feel like I just leveled up. You know what I mean? Like it's just the endorphins, all your hormones, everything is just heading in a positive direction. So you feel good. You know what I mean? We need this at this time right now. So when you take the gym away from people and you're confining them to their homes, it's detrimental to their health, physically and psychologically. Both are bad, but together combined, it's a recipe for incredible disaster. And now suicides are through the roof, and it's understandable. You know what I mean? Thank God I don't have mental issues and it's like that, but I know people that do, and it's a hard time being by yourself, being with yourself. You know what I mean? There's people that can't be with themselves within their minds. They don't like it. They need to be with other people to distract them and make them feel better about themselves. You know what I mean? So when you take that away from people, when you take people away from people and you take the exercise away from the people and the things that gives them that outlet, then that's the recipe for disaster. So we're trying to save people's lives, but we're actually ruining people's lives. It's such a weird thing because we want to keep people safe by not giving them the virus, but the way we're keeping them safe is actually killing them. You know, and I'm a personal trainer. I'm into fitness. I'm into nutrition. I'm into health. It's my passion. I love to help people. When I was a kid, my dream was to be a police officer, just as much as it was to be a fighter. Because I don't know, ever since I was a kid, I just wanted to help people. I think that's a natural thing for a lot of people. We want to be good. We want to help people. We want to help people make people feel good. You know, and I thought, you know, what other better way is there than to be a police officer? You know, and in the process of being a soldier and everything, I realized that, you know, I don't want to be handing out speeding tickets, and I don't want to be busting people for these other things, you know. So
you want to be kicking in doors,
yeah, exactly.
Flipping over beds, and
you read my mind. I was like, you know what, and I was kind of naive because I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the military instead of going to school, and then when I get out of the military, I'm gonna become a SWAT cop. That was my dream. I'm gonna become a SWAT police officer. But then I learned, no, it'll help you get it to become a police officer, but it's not gonna get you straight to SWAT. You still got to be a first class constable, second class, third class, fourth class, work your way up. But then at the same time, the things that first classes, second class, third class, fourth class constables do, I didn't want to do, right? So I'm like, you know what? I want to help people. I don't want to be a pain in the ass, because when a cop pulls me over for going 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers over the speed limit, I'm like, man, you're an asshole. You know what I mean? That's just how it is, right? And I didn't want to be that guy that people thought that of. So I'm like, you know what? What other way can I help people was through their health? You know, what brings people more valuable, more value than having good health, you know? So I was like, that's something that I want to do. And I've been doing that personal training through not only Thai boxing and boxing, but also through resistance training as well, for like weight loss and posture correction and muscle gain and strength gain as well. So I love what I do. And so that's what I'm doing now. Yeah.
And it shows. Now, you mentioned a while back that you were like, hey, like, I want to start opening up my own gym. Is that still on the table for you?
Yeah. So, so the thing is, like I told you, before going to Thailand, my plan was to go for 3 years, you know, and then prior to that, I invested all my money in buying a property. So my condo right now is being built. So right now, all my funds are kind of being into that. So I figured, you know what, I'll work at this gym. I work at this gym, Movadi Athletic in Mississauga. And yeah, even just working there, my business has grown like really, really fast. People really like what I do. Everybody constantly keeps asking me, are you going to open up your own spot? Are you going to open up your own spot? And prior to this lockdown, things were starting to look really, really good. You know, I was banking up some coin and stuff. Things were getting really, really busy. I had a great following. And then, you know, this happened. And, you know, again, thankfully, I didn't open up a business, because then it would have just went down the drain, right? So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing right now. Like I said, I train people at their homes now. They love it. You know, once Movadi opens up, I'll go back to Movadi. I love that gym. I've been a trainer, like I said, for like 12 years now, with Good Life Fitness, Family Fitness, LA Fitness, every fitness, you know what I mean?
Do these guys know, all your clients know how much of a killer you are?
I think some of them know, yeah.
I feel like they don't. I almost feel like when you see someone, they're a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And then they think, oh, he's just a personal trainer, but realize they don't.
Yeah.
Realize
So the majority of them do, and it's funny because like a lot of my coworkers, they're really intrigued at what I do. So a lot of times my coworkers are like, hey, did you know that your trainer is like a professional fighter? I'm like, oh, really? And so I guess they look me up, but so I don't really like advertise it. At the same time, like I do run a Muay Thai program and kickboxing program there, so people kind of know, okay, he's the coach, and I guess people kind of put 2 and 2 together eventually. But I don't really advertise, hey, I'm the fighter or whatever. I just do my thing, and people I just find out.
You remember your first fight?
I do remember my first fight, my first MMA fight.
Yep.
Man, that was crazy, man. That was wild.
Who was it and where?
So I was fighting this guy.
Do you remember?
Mike Roberts.
Okay.
He was a student of legendary Dan Severn. This guy, Dan Severn, he's a beast. And if you've been following MMA for a long time, you would know who he is. He was a legend, and he was a student of Dan Severn. And back then, MMA was illegal in Ontario. So the way that they were doing MMA fights.
So was this the event that? Because you fought this guy twice, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I cornered this guy because he had no cornerman.
That's crazy.
So I remember he showed up. He drove in from New York State with his girlfriend, and he was late. He didn't even make the weigh-ins. That's actually, now that I remember it, he missed the weigh-ins. So he showed up late. Everybody had already weighed in. And then the promoter goes, hey, which by the way wasn't me. I wasn't the promoter. The promoter's like, yeah, don't worry. He's good. He's okay. They didn't even weigh him.
Crazy.
He never even weighed in. And then remember, he put his bag down, and it was his wife or his girlfriend at the time. And she said, and then he starts looking around the back change room. And he goes, hey, can someone corner me? He didn't even corner, bro. And I was like, a lot of us felt bad. So we were like, okay, yeah, we'll corner you for this fight. Thinking that, if he gets to the second round, you can assess him through his first round and say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. You do this. He didn't even make it out the first round. I think he kicked him in the head and he was sleeping. And I was just like, well, I guess that's a wrap. That was the easiest cornering job ever. But so that was the guy, but you fought him twice.
I fought him twice. And
so I think that was the second time you fought him.
Okay.
So I didn't know you had fought him previously. But anyways, tell me, get back to your story.
So Mike Roberts, really cool a time in my life, I guess, in my career. American kid, he was known, like I said, to be coming from Dan Severn's camp. So he came from a strong wrestling background. He was a champion in 2 weight classes. He was undefeated. So it was a big test for my first fight, And it's crazy because in the weigh-ins, actually, when he showed up, he says, "Hey man, cool man, we shook hands, whatever." And he's like, "So how many fights you got, man?" I'm like, "Well, it's my debut." He goes, "No, I know." He goes, "But how many amateur fights you got?" I didn't have any amateur MMA fights. At that point, I had a lot of amateur Muay Thai fights only, right?
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, I don't have any." He goes, "You have no amateur MMA fights, and this is your first pro fight?" And I go, "Yeah." And he looks at me, he's like, "Okay, man. Oh,
He didn't believe you.
Right? And he's like thinking, no. He thought, "Oh, dude, like, I'm going to kill you."
Okay.
Right? Like,
yeah.
he thought, like, "Dude, you have no experience, and you're going to fight me? Like, do you know who I am?" Type of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, all right, whatever, man. So anyway, so we're in the change rooms, and all of a sudden I hear like this slam echoes, slam. And I'm like, man, what the hell is that? And it was kind of like, like the kickboxer Tong Po kicking the thing, and, the thing's about to fall down, It was like that, and he comes in, looks, and, So anyway, so I'm walking, I'm like, it's coming from the cage, right? So I walk out, and I'm like, what the hell is that noise? And it's this guy, Mike Roberts, that I'm going to fight. He's climbing the cage onto the top of the cage and jumping off, doing break falls onto the mat. Like, this is like 5 feet high.
Yeah.
He jumps off, bam, break falls. Goes back, bam, break falls. He was doing this for like 2-3 minutes, bro. And I think it was for me to see, right? So I come out, and I'm just like, holy shit, like, I'm not scared, but I'm like, holy shit, this guy's crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
shit.
Like, I'm not scared, but dude, like, I'm kind of impressed. I don't know what this means. Maybe you're tough, whatever, but wow, right? Like, you're nuts, And anyways, long story short, I ended up fighting this guy the first time. I TK'd him and knocked him out. He said that that he spit his mouthpiece. Like, he was getting tired, right? And I cracked him, and he spit his mouthpiece out. But the ref read the play, And I didn't hear no, hey, stop. So I'm like, hey, boom. So I charge him, I crack him. He drops, I knock him out. And then he wants a rematch, right? So because the fight was so crazy, and
where was that?
So that was on the Indian Reserve when Iroquois.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, man, I love that place,
Yeah, they put on some really cool
some
fights.
amazing shows. They brought in some top guys. Anderson Silva was there,
I was there for that, and actually, my guy fought Dennis Purick.
Oh yeah.
And I was warming him up backstage. Literally, Sean
Torrent?
No, I forget his last name.
Okay.
He passed away, unfortunately.
I saw that in your podcast with with
yeah.
Lynn.
So I was
wondering who that is, but anyway, that's so much stuff. Anyways,
I fucking feel terrible.
jeez,
I'm terrible with names, bro. It's getting worse
I hear you.
with
Man, I'm like
age.
that too, bro.
But he fought Pyrrhic, and I remember I was warming him up backstage. He was hitting mitts, bing, 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 bing. And I turned, and man, from like me to the wall was Anderson Silva, and this was like
Prior to it.
like
when he
Anderson
was
Silva being like the
like
top
this-
of the
yeah,
king shit.
yeah.
And I was starstruck, bro. I was like,
Oh, yeah, for
whoa.
sure.
And he was watching me hold mitts, pads. And he looks and he just did this. He went, he just gave me like a big nod. And I was like, holy shit. And I just went this. I smiled back, trying to have the poker face. And I was like, yeah, cool. I was like, holy fuck, Anderson Silva. I met Gary Goodridge there.
Yeah, man.
Dan Severn, like all these like,
Listen,
old
so these reserve guys, they have money, man. Like they have
the
money.
Iroquois ones were the best ones.
They have money, so and they were like, you know what? They were serious with it. They're like, you know what? We're gonna bring the best.
Who was the promoter on that one?
I don't. His name is Chuck, I believe. Chuck.
Okay.
Chuck. Geez, I'm forgetting the last name. I don't remember the last name. But they're a big family in the reserves, right? Good people, man, and they did it right. They did it right for the first MMA shows in Ontario. They set the foundation. They brought in the best guys. The fights were bangers every time. They were selling out, you know.
It's the first time I saw Dave Hale too.
Davey Hale was a beast,
and he was
too,
a stud.
man.
And I was like, oh
all
shit!
the guys
all
that
these,
came from Olympus,
there were
right?
so many.
That was a nice era, yeah, man. And so I'm really grateful for that because that was my foundation in coming up. That gave me tons of experience, and fighting guys from around the world, you know. And it was fighting Americans. I was fighting, guys from around here, and so it was great experience, great show. Unfortunately, it's so crazy because not too long ago I was thinking, like, man, they should come back, because man, man, I remember I was going to the back, they were paying me cash, and because I had great fights, they're like, here's another $1,000 cash.
Yeah.
Like they were doing it nice, man. They were doing it nice, and now with all these like commission fees and rules, it really just destroyed the sport in our province and in our country. But it'd be nice to have them back because they were just putting on some solid fights. Like, even like when the score was around, the score was another one that just did it really nice. Bringing in the best from around the country. And
Well, they had a bigger budget, right? When when people have network deals and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
It really, what it comes down to in the sport in the province is money.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, there is not that commissioning fee in other countries, and so it's like to have that sort of commission fee. From what I understand, is $50,000 upfront just to put on a show.
No, well, it depends where you put it on.
Okay.
So my last show was in March, which was just a week before the lockdown. So it was in Toronto.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to do it in Toronto than anywhere else. It was like a $12,000 difference between Toronto and doing one in Windsor.
Oh wow.
So because you're paying gas mileage for every official, and then you get $20,000 deposit for they call it the
20.
It's $20,000. It's actually it's $17,500. So the $17,500 covers your MRI in the event that you're knocked out. So $1,700 per bout as a deposit, and then they take a $2,000 deposit gate fee. So you're supposed to give 5% of your gate revenue to the commission. So it's those fees that are like they're big up front.
Yeah.
And then on top of it's probably like another $15,000.
So you're looking at
so your commission is in budget for $35,000 just for your commission.
Yeah. So to do that, for guys to put on shows, to do that, I mean, as we've seen, it's there's not a lot of shows anymore, right? So it's really killed the sport, you know what I mean? And that's unfortunate because we have a lot of talent, and we have talent that needs to showcase their skills, and that outlet is not exactly there as much as it used to be anymore, The score was great because they were, like you said, they had a network deal. The exposure was massive, massive, and it was incredible.
Well, they could pay the fighters better, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I think that was a glory day of fighters getting
It was,
really good pay. And a lot of and to be honest, and a lot of the reason why I never had you on my cards, I just couldn't afford you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you pay for what you get, and I get that. But when you got 20 fighters, and then your purse budget is $30,000.
Yeah.
Add that to your commission fees. Add another
Yeah.
20,000 for your venue. Add another,
Exactly.
20 in marketing. Next thing you know, your show costs you $100 to $130,000. It's a lot of money.
That's
And
the thing.
if you're
right?
not selling tickets, which we are in a niche market,
Yeah.
so in turn you gotta starve.
Well,
you gotta keep going and starve until it
it's
hits
messed up.
off.
And
right?
see, here's the thing. It starts making sense for guys like you promoters when there's exposure.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a show and your show is being broadcast and you're having multiple shows and you're making stars and people are coming in to see John fight and John's fighting again and John's knocked out this guy. And now you start to build up like the Iroquois was doing. They were building like the Score was doing. They were building a fan base. They were building stars. They were building attention, and it just grows. You know what I mean? And then now when you just don't have that exposure, the sport starts to die out. It's harder to sell tickets. And it just becomes a really hard thing
you
to
follow
run
the same
shows, right?
formula of fighters selling your tickets.
Yeah.
And that was even the reserves did that. Even the UFC does that for their home shows. That's why when they book UFC does a show in Toronto, they try to soak up some local
Yeah,
talent
of
too,
course.
because they know that's going to sell
for
the
sure,
tickets,
for
right?
sure, for
Not
sure.
that they have a problem doing that.
No, but that's just for sure. Exactly. That's what you do. Yeah.
Yeah, man. After the March show, man, everything shut down for me, and I was just like, seriously,
Yeah.
man, it was like we had a lot of momentum. 4 shows in 6 months.
Yeah, it's even for example, I signed the Lion fight prior to the lockdown. I was supposed to fight for their North American title in June.
In Quebec, right?
No, in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Right. Los Angeles.
Okay.
Right. And then bam, that happened. And then a couple months later, actually what happened was the guy that I was supposed to fight, he pulled out like literally a week before they started locking everything down, right? And so the lockdown happened, they canceled the event, and then maybe 4 months ago, they messaged me and they're like, hey, listen, this guy is ready to go again. We're gonna do a show in October, pending pandemic, of course, but we're gonna do a show in October. Or do you want to fight this guy now? Would you still fight him? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it. They're like, okay, we'll stay in touch. This was 4 months ago. Haven't heard from them. It's now almost November.
Yeah, and California went on another lockdown too. I think that was probably
you know what I
the
mean.
problem.
So they were gonna do it in Vegas, this next one in October, and so we haven't heard from them since. So they're suffering. And it's not just it's everybody, man. Unless you're the UFC or Bellator,
Even Bellator's not even producing.
right? So
UFC is pumping them on.
that's the only one.
But they
That's
got
the
the
only one,
money.
man. They got the money, right? So I'm 38 years old, and I still feel good. I still feel young. I'm training like a madman still, and I still want to go, but I'm 38 years old. You know what I mean? If there is ring rust, it's a real thing. You know what I mean? You're gonna go into combat unless you're doing combat consistently. Combat starts to feel a little foreign. You know what I mean? Real combat. You know what I mean? So you got to stay consistent. Especially when you get older. I'm getting older. If I don't stay consistent, then I'm not going to be fresh for combat. You know what I mean? So, I'm at a point in my life where it's like, man, I was supposed to fight for a title. I was hot. I was ready. I was sharp. And now that's off, and there's no sight of even it happening, So, it is what it is. There's worse things that can happen in life, but I'm at a point right now where, hey, I'm just maybe perhaps, who knows where my future is going to go, but I'm thank God I'm able to work and share my passion, my knowledge with people and help them to try to live better lives, and that's what I'm just focusing on right now. Yeah.
I have another question for you.
Sure, of
What
course.
were the gym wars like?
Oh man,
I always wondered what it would be like to walk into a room and see Shane Campbell, Mukai Moromo, Will Romero, Josh Hill, Lyndon Whitlock. There's so many fucking guys, man. I'm probably Claude Patrick. I'm missing so many guys. But what was that like in a sparring session?
Yeah, so that's another reason why Lynn he's created so many champions. He's had the success that he's had as a coach because, like I said, he comes from a past himself where they're hardcore guys. Like I've trained around the world. I've trained with a lot of guys from Russia, guys from Ukraine, these guys from Romania, and these are some of the best fighters in the world, man, because they are tough. They are tough. Their upbringing is tough. Their parents are tough on them. They're just tough. You know what I mean? So Alin gave us that mentality, and in the gym, he let us go to war. He gave us that mentality as well. He put that on us and we fed off his energy. So, man, like I remember one time, Shane, this massive beast of a fighter, super talented. We were going to go fight in Belarus. He was fighting for world title. One fight, world title. He was fighting Dimitri Valent, great fighter. And I was fighting for a world title in a Grand Prix, a 8-man Grand Prix. Best fighters in the world, right? So as we're preparing for this fight, it must have been our last sparring session. Okay, maybe a week before going, 2 weeks before going was our last sparring session. And we were both sharp, right? And I remember this sparring session with Shane. I remember at a point in between the rounds, we were sparring, and the shots that we were throwing at each other were so vicious and powerful that for a moment there, I'm just like, dude, one mistake right now, and you're going to sleep. One mistake from him, and he's going to sleep. It was that, you know? And I was just like, wow, like this is the sparring that we would do. We'd had some serious wars, you know? And anyways, how that translates was when Shane, and I would remember when watching Shane's world title fight a week later, it was the same type of fighting, like where I'm just like watching him fight with this guy, Dimitri Valent, great Russian. And it was just like whips, man, like whips and flashes of strikes where I'm just like, dude, one mistake and you're dead. I mean, like you're gonna cut your head off, you know, or you're gonna cut his head off, you know? And that's why we were so prepared, because our fights were, our sparrings were real fights. You know, I mean, I've had fights where I've made people suck wind through every hole in their body, literally. Like, yeah. I've made a guy one time, he came to spar from another school, and, you know, we were supposed to be sparring with each other. This guy was trying to hurt me, trying to knock me out. So I grabbed him in a clinch, and I threw this knee at his solar plexus with everything that I had, man. I grabbed him, and I kneed him so hard, man. And this guy fell like a shrimp, like curled up like a shrimp, and literally it was like he was sucking through every hole in his body. Eyes, nose, ears, mouth, even, you know, his asshole. it was the sound, bro. The sound, I was like, I think we should call this guy an ambulance. Anyways, but we've had some serious battles, like even till this day when I spar, for example, with Dennis, it's like, we go, man. We go. I try to hurt him. He tries to hurt me. Some of the craziest fights that I've had have been with like Shane Campbell, for example. I'll always give Shane his respects. I call Shane the captain of our team because it's who he is. I've always looked at him as the most gifted, the most skilled. He's our leader. He was there from the beginning. He's had massive success. He's had so many fights. He's won world titles, you know.
He does Hadoukens, bro.
And he does Hadoukens. You know, he does all kinds of. I've seen this guy do some things where I'm just like blown away.
That? Shane Campbell threw a Hadouken in one of his fights.
I don't even know what that is.
Street Fighter, you know the game Street Fighter?
He throws like a fireball.
Like a fireball.
He did that to a guy and then knocked him out.
He dropped the dude, and then as the guy was on his ass stumbling to get up, he went, bah, but he dropped low and like powered it up and went, and then as he got up, he put him asleep.
And then finished him up. Yeah,
but
wow.
It's like Liu Kang in that movie at the end.
And then he got signed to the UFC.
Rightfully so, right? Dude, it was so cool. And then somebody put the fireball in.
Yeah, I've seen
video.
that. So wild, right? So wild.
And he went, bah.
Yeah, man. Shane is a
technician,
super talented fighter. There's some fighters that have this laser vision in their, let's say athletes in period, who have this like laser vision in their sport where they can kind of like put things into slow motion. You get what I'm saying? Like you put things into slow motion where you see things better. You
spider senses.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. And I've seen Shane do some shit where I'm just like, where it's like on the fly, right? Like I've seen him, for example, a guy charged at him, he sidestepped him, wrapped his arm around his head, went behind them like in the air, and then finally kneed him in the back of his like spine. I'm just like, dude, how the hell did you even think of doing that? Maybe you've seen it somewhere. Maybe just to even do that in real life situation is just like freaking mind blowing. Like if you're not a martial artist and you've never trained, you would not understand. Like to me, it'd be like people maybe listen to this and be like, what's the big deal? No, you don't understand. It's a big damn deal. For you to even just do that naturally, or like to try to do it is hard, but then to do it in a combat scenario is mind blowing. So anyway, Shane Campbell, I've sparred with Shane, and I had some great coaches, you know, in my career. And Lynn is a great coach, you know, and I've had other coaches as well, and I've learned a lot of techniques, you know. And every time Shane is, you know, because he comes and goes and he's all over the place, you know. And of course, I want to see, hey, I'm gonna test myself against him. But this is who we are. It's no disrespect to Shane. You're a great fighter. I'm gonna try to get the better of you because I want to be a great fighter. And if you get the better of me, great, because it's gonna make me a better fighter, you know. So when I spar with Shane, we're trying to knock each other's heads off, and he's like the only guy that's kicked me in my head and dropped me, right? He's never knocked me out, but he's kicked me so hard because he's got a shin pad on, where literally my head is ringing. This has happened 2 times. One time he kicked me so hard, my head was ringing, you know. But to me, it's like beautiful. Like, thank you, because this is gonna make me better, you know. And this is what you need, man. This is the fighting game, you know. Hey, if you want to learn how to fight, you gotta fight. And if you want to be a killer, you need to learn how to kill in a fighting sense, if you know what I'm saying, you know. So when we would go train and we spar, we're going to kill. Even though you're my brother and I love you, I'm going to kill. You know, I'm not trying to hurt you, like to put you like in a coma, but I'm gonna kick you in the head if I can. I'm gonna make you pay. You know, and Shane's one of those guys. Another time, you know, years down the road, we're training, we're sparring, and I'm bringing some good heat to him. We're going back and forth, and same thing, man. He does this fancy little sidestep, bam, kicks me to the head, you know, and boom, drops me again, and I'm just like, man, this guy's so sharp, you know. But it's those things that make you a better person, you know. And now Shane's moved away, but now I have Kyle Nelson, the monster. You know, this guy is the monster. You know, he's another super talented, tough fighter who is an honor and a pleasure to have in my gym, be my teammate, because this is a guy who can kick my ass, you know what I mean? And it's like, you know what? I need these guys. I need someone who, I can't be the guy kicking everybody's butt all the time. I can't, because it's not going to make me better. It's also going to give me a false sense of belief in myself.
Well, they say if you're the best in the room, you're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room. You know what I mean? So, and that's why even myself, I've always moved around. You know, I went to Montreal and trained at TriStar with a bunch of great fighters. I've lived in China. I've lived in Thailand. I've fought the greats. And the reason why I've been able to do these things is because I've never shied down from fighting a good fighter that comes to fight, or sparring good partners, you know. So I've always been in, you know, you need to get burnt to learn, you know. And then I've always had good guys to burn me, you know.
Yeah, you have a great attitude about it.
No, thank you. I mean, I do think that I am a warrior, and the more that I as I age, and the more that I'm realizing that I was born to do this, you know. Like I said, I was 5 years old thinking I'm meditating to the gods of martial arts, you know, to be a martial artist. And 30 years later, here I am. You know, I've traveled the world, and I've been able to live my dreams. I've fought some monsters, some real killers who have hundreds of fights, and I've traveled the world, and you know, and I'm just, I'm definitely, this is definitely what I was made for. You know, I had my jaw broken and kept fighting and won that fight. I didn't back down. I didn't shy down. You know, I thrive through these things, you know, and even now through pandemic, I could have, and all of us, we could sit down and we can lie down and let it affect us, because it's easy for that to happen. But thank God, with my personality and my character, I said, hell no, man, I'm going to fight through this thing. And my fight right now is just to keep myself going, you know, keep myself going. Even though now, like, I don't have a job. Well, I don't have a job with my gym.
Right.
But I'm going from like 7 a.m. till like 10 p.m. I don't stop. I train my clients. I stop at 4 p.m. And then from 4 p.m. from Mississauga, I drive an hour and a half through traffic in Hamilton to Hamilton to train. You know, I still train. I'm sparring, you know.
So you help Kyle get ready for his fight? So
here's the thing. No, unfortunately, and that would have been amazing. And the reason why is I ruptured my bicep, right?
Okay.
I ruptured my bicep when I was in Thailand. And I'm still recovering. I was still recovering from that. So I wasn't able to, and so it's even now, I just started sparring last week again, after like a long time, man, you know.
Now, if you had your time back, would you do anything different with your career?
No, because I love the journey. I love the journey that I've had, the ups, the downs, the wins, the losses. It's made me who I am. It's written my story, and I love what I've left behind for myself. for my children one day, if I have children, I think that they can be proud of what I've done. You know, I've fallen, but I've also gotten up and continued to go. You know, and I've risen again, and I've fallen, but I've never let that stop me. In fighting, it's very understandable and very easy to taste defeat and say, you know what, that's it for me. You know, I really think it takes a person with strong character and strong self-belief to say, you know what, setbacks are a part of life. In all aspects of life, you're gonna taste setback. But listen, setback can make you or it can break you. And what are you gonna let loss and let setbacks define you? Or are you going to let it define you in a positive way? Are you going to let it launch you forward? It's going to pull you back, but an elastic band launch you forward. And that's my mentality. No, man, if you pull me back, oh boy, be careful, because I launch forward. And that's been my mentality in my whole life. And I love to try to make people, just the general person, if you're listening to this, we as human beings, we are capable of things we cannot even comprehend. We are capable of so much more than we even know within ourselves. Everyone. I've accomplished some great things. I've filled out a lot of great things, of a lot of great opportunities. But through the failure and through going and believing in myself and being persistent, I've been able to travel the world. I've been able to fight legends. I've been able to win a world title in an organization, you know. I've been able to be a North American champion. I've been able to live my dreams, you know. But if you met me when I was 8 years old, 9 years old when I started, you would just say, this is just another kid. He's just another kid. Nothing special about him. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. I was a small, skinny kid. You know what I mean? If you went back and said, hey, Will is going to become some world champion, do you believe it? Nobody would say, yeah. Me, even my own family wouldn't believe it. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you who did believe it. Me. I believed in myself, man. I believed in myself. I was not the strongest. I was not the fastest. I was not the most able, most capable. But I did not quit, man. My mentality was always do or die. When I went to Thailand, I said, every morning, if you wanted to live in this camp and you wanted to live in the gym, you had to run 10 kilometers every morning through the hills. If you don't, see you later, buddy. Get out. That's how it is. I was 36 years old in Thailand, 36. Everybody else was like 22, 23. I was running 10 kilometers through the mountains every day, fighting monsters. Why? Because I'm more capable or I'm gifted. Nah, man, I'm definitely not. But I said I will die. I will die running these hills. I'm not gonna stop until I'm knocked out from a loss of breath, a loss of consciousness. I will not stop. And that's why, like, when I fought guys with 300, 400 fights, legends, Lumpini champions. These guys are monsters. When you fight them, when they kick you, you just see a flash. This is the truth. I'm telling you, you see a flash. You don't even have time to block, really, sometimes, right? But what made me fight these guys is I said, you know what? I've always trained with do or die. I was willing to die in running. I was willing to die in sparring. I was willing to die in training. I'm willing to die now in this fight. Now, am I gonna let this man kill me? No, he's not gonna kill me. You know what I mean? I'm gonna survive, and I'm gonna fight for my dreams. You know what I mean? And I've always carried that mentality in everything, and throughout my entire career. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you this: there are times when, for example, where I didn't have that mentality. When I was undefeated and I was winning all kinds, and people think you're the best, and you're the best, and you're this, and you're that. You start to believe things. You start to not run so much, and you start to not, train so hard. I started losing, man. I lost 3 fights in a row against guys that I should have probably beat in my head, But it's because you start to believe in your own hype. Now at 38 years old, I know the formula, and the formula is no secret. It's hard fucking work every single day. There were times when I've had my biggest wins where I was training so hard that I didn't know if I was crying or sweating. There was so much water and stuff coming down from my face. It could have been both, It was that hard. And in Thailand, it was that hard. I was running 15 kilometers a day, working my ass off. There was times where you go to sleep, you wake up, you're still tired, and you got to run another 15 kilometers and then train 2 hours. You train 5 hours a day, man. And if you ask someone, hey, at 36 years old, do you think you can do that? Maybe I wouldn't have even believed it. You know what I mean? But I said, you know what, man? I'm a warrior. This is my life, and I'm gonna do what I love until the day I die. And even now, like I said, I'm trying to find a way where I can still maintain my martial arts. I just can't stop being who I am. You know what I mean? I'm gonna not fight till the day I die. I plan on fighting until my body says, okay, you can't do this no more. You know, you need to stop. But the great thing is my body's not telling me that right now. I mean, I'm squatting more than I've ever squatted. I'm running farther than I've ever ran, almost faster than I've ever ran. That's not happening, but getting close. You know what I mean? Yeah, getting close. You know, so I'm stronger. I'm in great shape. When I go spar with these young guys that are coming up, I'm whooping ass. You know what I mean? I'm still getting my ass whooped too by like guys like Kyle Nelson, you know. But I'll stand up and I'll say, let's go again. I come back the next day. So all the things that are required to be a fighter, to be a savage, I still have those things. And so, you know, I want to keep doing what I love as long as I can, because I'm still doing amazing things. You know what I mean? I still miss Thailand. I was still in a perfect world. Would love to go back to Thailand and keep fighting these legends. You know what I mean? And win, lose, it doesn't matter, man. Nobody knocked me out. Nobody kicked my ass. Nobody embarrassed me. I won fight of the night against the Top King champion, who's one of the greatest fighters, you know. So to me, you know, like Alin was saying in your podcast, spiritual happiness, that's true wealth for me. You know what I mean? You know, I've been able to, like I said, buy my own condominium. So I've been able to kind of set myself up a little bit for the future through this, which is great. But now I'm all about just living this life and trying to just find fulfillment in it, or to continue finding fulfillment in it, because I just feel so fulfilled doing what I love and being who I am. You know what I mean? And I want to continue doing what I love and being who I am until my body says, you know what? Okay, now son, take a step back, you know? But I'm not there. And I know, like I said, I have the formula. And what's going to stop you from doing that, especially as you age, is don't work hard. If you take drugs, if you drink alcohol, you break your body down, it's over for you. So right now, man, people tell me I look super young.
You didn't even sip that beer.
You'd be surprised, man. Honestly, I can't even tell you the last time I've had a beer. I can't, man. But you know what? In moments like this, I'm not going to be antisocial. I'll have a beer. You know, it's lockdown, so, you know, people aren't getting out. But yeah, man. Like,
ladies and gentlemen, he didn't even drink that beer.
I've had a few sips. Yeah.
I think you just moved it a couple times. You're like, yeah.
It actually tastes good, man. Belgian Moon.
So do you mind if I ask that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you. This could come off as sounding like a dick, but this is not how I mean it. Sure. But so, you know, you're feeling really happy, you're really fulfilled, and I don't mean this as sort of like you should be thinking about retirement. Not that at all. But have you thought about what happiness is going to look like down the road? You know, you said at some point you're not going to be fighting anymore. Yeah. You know, what does that look like? Is it still within martial arts, or are there other things, or is there a path like, hey, I'm going to go find my soul for a bit?
I appreciate that question, man. Thank you. So the thing with me is I'm a martial artist. It's just something I can't stop. I drive an hour and a half every day to Hamilton to train after work, and then go home, sleep, and like I don't stop. It's like you can't stop. You can't take that away from me. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna do martial arts in one way or another for the rest of my life, right? And the way I'm doing that now is through being a personal trainer and training people and sharing that knowledge, right? But my plan is in the future is to open up my own place, right? So I have a lot of people that are just like, dude, open your own place, my own clients.
What would you call it?
So I like the Lion, right? I've thought about Lion Nak Muay, but so the thing is, it's not really catchy, right? But Nak Muay means fighter in Thai boxing, it means Thai boxer, right? I like the name of that, and I like Lion, but I always thought, like, in a perfect world, if I was in like a country that was big into like Muay Thai, like let's say Australia or Thailand, Nak Muay Muay Thai, Lion Nak Muay, Lion boxer, you know? I think it's perfect, but for Canada, not so much. People be Nak, what is that?
Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad.
You know? But the business model that I have for myself is, for example, like a boutique sort of gym, right? Where people can come in and get personal training. I am a personal trainer, and just postural correction, stuff like that is massive, and there's a big value in it. You know, a lot of us professionals now, as we get older, we sit because we're on the computer for work. Maybe we sit because we drive. Unless you're a janitor or a tradesman, you're on your feet, which these are great jobs. Maybe they're not, seen as the greatest jobs, but these people are on their feet. They don't understand how lucky they really are, because one thing I don't ever want to do is spend more than like an hour sitting at a time, man. I guess that's really like the worst thing you can do. Your glutes shut off, your hips get tight. Now I'm becoming like a gym nerd, but this is this is massive, man. Like, this is massive. And people who can tell you this are people who sit 8 hours a day. Like, dude, you couldn't pay me enough to sit 8 hours a day. You couldn't. You know what I mean? You can pay me half and I'll cut lawns or whatever, but that's why I love my job, because I'm on the feet 10, 12 hours a day. I'm helping people to loosen up their body, be healthy. And the reward I get out of that is that, man, when you weigh a client of yours, like say 1 month later, and they're like, I'm trying to lose weight. They step on the scale and, man, they've lost like 20 pounds. To me, it's like, dude, that's like, they make me so happy. Their happiness brings me so much happiness, because it's like, I know what I just helped you do, not what I did for you. I know what I helped you do. You did for yourself.
You inspired somebody.
Yeah, I kind of was a guide, but I think I was a pretty big part in you getting there. And you know what I mean? And I think we can all relate that our health is something that we mostly all of us value, and if you give me my health back, fuck, man, I'm going to be so thankful to you and grateful for your help. You know what I mean? So I can give that to people, man. And I see people that have lost weight and transformed their lives, and I see the smiles on their face start changing. Man, that's the truest fulfillment for me. So I know that martial arts has given me that in my life and in my journeys, but now it allows me to give that to people as well, and I see people grow, and I see people change, and I see people become better, and their confidence gets better, and they just feel better about themselves, and or even if it isn't about losing weight or getting more muscle, just learning new skills. People want to improve themselves, and I think that's something that we should do till the day we die. Always improve one way or another. Read a new book.
Level up.
Yeah. Man. Level up one way, even if you're not into academics and learning, which I'm not the biggest into that, but let it be running. Let it be running. Go jog. Go walk. Ride a bike. You know what I mean? That's growth. And we should always strive for growth till the day we die. And it can be done in so many ways. And I think that's kind of my mentality. And I find massive value and personal growth in helping people, and achieve better health. So yeah, in a perfect world, I think, and I'm heading towards that right now, getting there. Hopefully this whole lockdown thing changes, and that's my plan, to open up my own little studio boutique sort of gym where people can come in, better themselves, better their lives, lose weight, gain muscle, whatever, fix their life, improve their confidence, and above all is just learn how to protect yourself and have that confidence in yourself, man. And I think for mental health as well, it's massively important. I'll tell you, man, fitness is so huge. And people now, because of this lockdown, are desperate for fitness. Why? Because you realize the healthier I am, the healthier my brain is. The better I look, the better I feel, the better my work is, the better my attitude is, the better my everything is, and it's all intertwined. Health and fitness, it's going to give you so much more benefit in life. Listen, as shallow as it may be or seem, the truth is, if you go into and we all know this, if you go into an interview and you're out of shape and you're fat, compared to someone who's maybe not as experienced as you, but they're a little bit more pleasant to look at, that person's going to get the job.
Yeah,
it is true. What it is. Why? Because it says a lot about their self-discipline.
Yeah.
It says a lot
Their
about
work ethic.
Their work ethic.
Yeah.
They're able to maintain their shape. They're caring about their health.
Look, round is a shape, bro. Come on.
yeah, right. So they're able to, they're doing what it takes. They're disciplined. They're not binge eating. They're not, so, it gets you far in life and so many things. Not looking good, but being healthy. You know what I mean? Being healthy. If you're healthy, you're gonna feel good. You're gonna look good, and your mind's gonna work right. So I'm glad that my life, my journey has brought me to that where I do feel a sense of fulfillment in my life. I really do, man. Like, I am at peace with a lot of things in life. I'm at peace with a lot of people. I smile at a lot of people. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with nobody. You know what I mean? And nobody has a problem with me. And that's great. I've lived my dreams. I've tried. I've failed, but in a weird way, my failure has still made me happy, because I say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna climb that mountain. I'm gonna attempt to climb that mountain. Even if I roll down, I've been able to stand up and try again. You know what I mean? And I can live with that. You know what I mean? So Yeah, man. So you were saying with the retirement, it's around the corner, and I just feel like I haven't taken much punishment. Well, I've taken some punishment, but not enough to like say, hey, you should stop. You know what I mean? I've broken bones, all kinds, and torn things, but hey, man, I'm still walking, I'm still running, I'm still trucking. So I'm gonna keep on trucking. You know?
Yeah,
man.
When you say boutique, do you just mean like small classes or more like individual? Like, what do you mean by that?
So more of like a private studio. Okay, so kind of like a personal training studio where you have maybe. So my vision is to have like a small ring, right? A small ring, and then have some of your basic essential machines like a squat rack, a leg press, a bench press, things like this. Just very not minimal, but just
clean.
things that you need. None of like things that you don't need. Some dumbbells, some kettlebells.
rather than a 5,000 square foot. You want something that's like,
just something.
Hey, come in with me today. You open
That's
the door,
it.
you
Something
walk
a
in,
little
you
bit
say,
more
today we're
intimate.
gonna do some weights today, and then we'll finish with some.
Yeah,
lifts and-
something a little bit more intimate. And I mean, I think, and then who knows? Then you can grow from there and then do something, because I think classes are a massive thing right now in the industry. People love classes, and hey, I can teach a class as well, right? I can teach a Muay Thai class. I teach classes, and people love them. So
well, that's a big thing in like Calgary. I used to live out there for a while, and they started a lot of these like boxing studios. They're called like Undercard, and they're more just geared for like kick fit, not for being fighters. But they're these. Sometimes they're actually really small, but they're blank and they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
And as soon as you walk in, it just, I don't know. People love to train there, and they make a ton of money. Their memberships are like $300 a month.
Wow.
And people pay
You
it
see.
because they go and there's like a little. It's just, I don't know how to say it. It's really minimalist, but it's clean.
That's
People
and
love
that's it. And that's it. So you know what it is? When you get personal training, I'm a trainer, right? So when you get personal training, people like the fact that it's just one-on-one. It's a little bit more closed off. It's private. It's a little bit more of an intimate setting. You know what I mean? It's closed off. It's intimate, right? And people appreciate that. So when you go into a place, it's a little bit more close. It kind of feels a little bit more homey. I feel. You know what I mean? A little tighter.
And people are looking for more places to connect.
Absolutely.
I think we're more isolated, and it's not including the pandemic, but before the pandemic, even people want to go to like a gym and hang out with their coach and feel like they're friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this sort of setup kind of gives that feeling and brings that environment. Yeah.
I can see you killing it at that. You got that personality too.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I feel real blessed because I mean, I have people now who do who I was training at Movati, but now because the gyms are closed, we're still providing them that service. Who have said, yeah, you know what, let's keep it going. They're still on the program while the gyms are shut down. I go visit them. So yeah, it brings me a lot of joy, man. I love it, and I think that's it's my calling. I'm 38 years old. I've been doing this thing for the last 12 years, and it's bringing me a lot of good moments in my life, and now I'm able to help people and bring some happy moments to people's lives. And I think, hey, why do I need anything else? You know what I mean? This is great, and keep building myself up, and then I think that's like the end goal, is have something where I can call my own, and just help people grow and maybe help change other people's lives. Yeah.
Wow, even better dude than I thought.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you, Ed.
Listen, let's. How do people find you? How can someone get a hold of you? They want to come in and do some private training with you?
Yeah, so I'm on social media, Facebook, of course, Will Romero. My Instagram is at Lion_Will Romero.
Okay.
Twitter, all my handles are the same, at Lion_Will Romero. I talk to fans all the time, or people that message me and they're interested in what I'm doing. And I love to meet people from around the world, So I talk to everybody. People message me. I talk to them. I've met all kinds of people online who I've never met and have come friends.
You've always been very warm. That was why it was
man.
easy for me to reach out to you, because
Awesome,
it was
man.
kind of like, he's always been warm.
Yeah.
Let's say, and then you're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, wicked.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, man. So yeah, social media. It's a good way to reach me, and I'm always available, man. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Will Romero.
Thanks for having me, man.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Thank you.